Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Miss Andrea Hurd. Ask Miss Hurd. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Mike. I am fine today. Happy Saturday morning.
You got your Megan Good hairdo going on. Got it fried, dyed, and laid to the side.
To the side. You know what?
I got your shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
early in the
yes,
morning.
yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, I got my I also have my nervous what do you call it? My dirty water. Oh, I got my coffee.
Oh, yeah, that
Um
nervous water. Mm-hmm.
Nervous water. I got my coffee and I'm all set to go. Happy to be able to talk to you so we can figure out what we need to do, especially for Tuesday, right?
Well, no, we're not going to focus on Tuesday. I think,
Okay.
you as a moderator, I elected um, when I came up with this concept to do my verses on a forum side, because most people don't know. Not a lot of people know at all because I keep a lot of things to my chest. But verses was something that I came up with in late 2018, early 2019, ironically enough, and it came about after an event speaking to the younger staff members. We were talking about life, and it was my ideology of an experience versus what their ideology and their experiences on what life was, what family was, what raising family was, sex, all these different things. Throughout these conversations, it wasn't combative, it was productive, and it was informative. And for each individual college student that's employed with me, they all kind of in their own way came to me on the side and was like, thank you for that, because nobody ever told me this. Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever explained it to me this way. And we talked about financials. We talked about credit. We talked about why, all these different things that will enable them to be better in life. So from that, the idea of versus came about, and it wasn't focused on systemic racism initially. It was it's actually you can help me with it's acronyms when you use in all these different letters to me.
Yep.
So my acronyms of verses, the V, the E, the R, the S, the U, and the S can mean a lot of different things. It can challenge society's views on religion, society's views on systemic racism. Is vocal engagements is the core, because I think vocal engagements allow us all to speak one-on-one and
Mhm.
be communicative. But the rest of it can be subject wise, just like a rainbow. It can just spread. So fast forward, sitting here, 2020, pandemic, back, out of whack, mind racing, just kind of going through notes and stuff, and started hearing a lot of things about systemic racism. And doing my research in it, it was a lot of things that was tied to it that I was not aware of. And
Mhm.
me not being aware of those things, the inquisitive person in me started to do some research. And I saw how systemic racism in its core, um, it kind of goes across all facets of our lives. And if you old school, you take a phone book. You remember the phone book, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the white pages had the yellow pages. So white pages is us as black people. That's us in the beginning. Names, numbers, social security, all these things that identify us. Then you take the rest of the yellow pages. You have all the industries across from in which you can be a part of this world and life. The systemic part is the yellow part. From the A's to the Z's, it all tied together. It was a system built to oppress us financially, education wise, job wise, housing wise, um, policy, policing, the political side of it, health and wellness. It was a system built against us of thriving. It
Mhm.
was created by people in power who care less about us as a whole because they didn't see the financial gains or the moral fortitude to say this isn't fair until the system was challenged. And that's when like we just celebrated the anniversary yesterday, matter of fact, of the voter registration act that was passed in 1965. which the late John Lewis was instrumental in helping passing along with Martin Luther King and others. Brother Reed. Oh, where I'm at with it now is I want to be able to have these conversations with professionals that live a life in an industry that I may be familiar with, you may be familiar with, others may be familiar with, but we're not quite in depth in how this can change our lives. So again, I thank you for accepting the role as a moderator because I trust your professionalism. I trust your articulation. I trust you wholly to actually be able to allow me to sit, observe, and then work behind the scenes and figure out how can I create this product to be so much better than just a fluke. I want people, quite honestly, if they're listening, I want them to be able to sit down and take pen and paper and write questions down that they may have when they hear speakers speak. I want them to be able to engage after the fact, because I will produce the product on Facebook, archive videos on YouTube. It's so weird. Like I said, I created this channel of Versus back in 2018, 2019. I created a YouTube channel in 2019. So I do have that. So I want to take these conversations and these forums and these one-on-ones like this and archive them so folks can go back and go, dang, that was some good points. Maybe I need to look into that for myself. Maybe I need to look into that for my kids or my grandparents or my mother or whomever, and see how we can be better than what we did, what we thought we were doing. Let's be better. So with that, again, thank you. So tell the people a little bit about who you are.
Well, I first off, I'd like to say I'm honored to be to be asked to be requested as a host. Being a host is something I think that I have innately wanted to do and have actually been doing for a whole lot of my life. And so I am Andrea Hurd. And professionally trained, I'm an educator. I am currently serving as a professor in the Division of Education at Southern University at New Orleans, but I am also the founder and CEO of my own consulting firm, A&H Consulting, which is an education and management firm that supports schools, teachers, students in professional development, writing, as well as public relations. So that's who I am. And so I have been working in education for the last 11 years, but I also have a background in film and media. And I'm currently hosting conversations, hosting jobs where I'm able to take my education background and my film background and ultimately really put it together and just drive conversations. I myself, just personally, I have always been a very, very curious person. And so if anyone has an opportunity to talk to my mom or my dad, they will probably tell them that Andrea was always asking questions, always wanting to know why, always bothering somebody because she wants to know more information about what it is that's going on. And so that's ultimately who I am. I am just a curious individual who asks questions. And I mean, I really want answers, because I always think of things as not just, no topic is just surface deep. There's always a why, there's always a how, there's always a, well, how did that get there to it? And I want to know the story. So ultimately, I look forward to opportunities where I'm able to host and to ask questions, especially about things that I'm interested in. So the systemic racism conversation is definitely one that I cannot wait to have, and to see what our panelists, what our guests really have to say, or how they can explain this to us so that we can all better understand. So yeah, that's me.
And I thank you for that transparency. And I'm going to use that word never reluctantly, because quite honestly, I am a curious individual as well. And one of the things that struck me during the few months of quarantine, I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself. And it was a good come to Jesus meeting because I, for a couple of years, have been running from who I am. And who I am is a person that is extremely caring. I am a man that is very understanding and very intelligent. But I also really like to see people succeed. Um, if there was a euphoria or a drug or an analogy to describe, I get high off of seeing other people win. Especially when I'm involved, because when somebody wins, their success is ultimately my success, regardless. And one of the things I love that you said and what makes me feel extremely confident in the fact that you'll be able to execute and be able to like not really just execute, but not just stand there and just moderate, but as the educator in you, as the mother in you, as the curious person in you, you'll be able to sit there and probably write down those same type of questions after hearing somebody say something and come back in and want clarification, which ultimately helps our audience, ultimately helps people listening, because they may be sitting there doing the same thing and you'll be proactive. You just won't be a fly on a wall following a script. You have common sense, you have education, and that's what as the moderator I'm definitely looking for, because it allows that conversation to flow. So one of the things I didn't know about was your filmmaking. So it is kind of weird how it all comes full circle, how now you're a moderator, and although we're not an actual television show or anything like that, who knows? But that little piece of information about you will play a part. So tell me a little bit about that.
So interesting. When I was in high school, I went to the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, which is NOCA, for half of the day. And I was in the creative writing discipline. And in that discipline, we studied film as well. So we read a book a week, but then we also had film studies. And that happened to be one of my most favorite pieces or parts of coming to NOCA. And I was able to study film, learn film, but really learn about storytelling. And I think that is what I am most drawn to, the storytelling or the aspect of it, as far as what films look like. And so when I think about even moderating a conversation, it doesn't matter what topic or what subject it's on, there's always a story that goes with it. So I want to pull the story out. I want to know, well, how we get here again. And so that's a lot of what I did in my film work. We studied, we took every story apart and put it back together. We also not so much looked at the production side, but more so of like I said, the storytelling aspect of what goes on when things occur, whether those films were documentaries or whether they were narratives, whether they were just fictional. There was always a why. There's always an explanation behind it. And I really love that. I did not pursue or finish pursuing my film journalism degree when I went to college, because I had my son. And when I had my son, I decided to rearrange my focus in life,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that I had to. I wasn't going to be able to pursue a career, or I felt like I wasn't going to be able to pursue a career in journalism and film, and make and start so low at the totem pole in being a reporter or working in the film industry. And that is how I became an educator instead of becoming a journalist. But I guess deep down inside, those skills or those desires, those wants, the things that you're attracted to really don't change. And so that's what I'm seeing here. Like you said, it's coming full circle. It definitely is. And for me, it's exciting because it was always something that I really wanted to pursue anyway. And so now I get the opportunity to do that. So yeah, that's my film passion.
Mm-hmm. And you want to know something that I'm sitting here listening to you, and that curiosity in me still wanting to get to know you as a person. I have more questions behind those questions, and um, that's the one thing that I know in life that I've recognized amongst all of us. And this was a conversation that I had with one of the students, not students, one of my workers. Um, when you mentioned the fact you had your son in college, it was a lot of us, and I don't have any kids, of course. A lot of people know that, but I did raise a brother, sister, and a bunch of different god kids and cousins. So I guess that's why I'm wore out with the children, because I came from that generation where both parents had to work. And as a 12-year-old, I was in the house cooking and cleaning, and then had to fend for all the others. But underneath me, my brother is 4 years younger than me. My sister is 8 years younger than me. My sister is 33. She just had her first kid. My brother is 36. He still hasn't had a child. So relatively, I want to say I did a damn good job as their father. Um, but swinging back to what you mentioned was the fact that we put our careers on hold as a young person, when we do have that child as a young person, where now we get into that, I'm going to just settle for this, which I know you didn't settle as an educator, because now you are a professor, but ultimately your passion, your passion is or was filmmaking or something else. And I think a lot of us don't do what we're called to do. We do what we think we're supposed to do. Me personally, years ago, I had to have my mama just listen. I had to not really go off on my mother, but really let her know, I need you to stop living this fantasy life about I should have been this and I should have been that, because I am who I'm supposed to be. Yes, I'm good at a lot of different things. And one of the things she always told me, I should have been an attorney. I should have stayed in school to be an attorney. Yes, because I can argue the hell out of a point, but I'm also like that salesperson where I can converse with people and make them feel comfortable. But at the same time, I have a mind of building, whether that's building people or building physical things. So she always said I should have been an engineer. And at that point, the contradictions of what you thought I should have been is two different realms. I should have been an attorney. I should have been an engineer. No, I am who I am.
Right.
And for a lot of parents, I think whether that child made a mistake and accidentally had a kid or got pregnant, because people are curious and people are going to do what they do. If, especially in today's realm, and this is where I'm probably going to pivot with you and you're going to go a little deeper with me. If people actually pay attention to who their kids are, they'll be able to teach them and help them focus that energy to be the best person that they are. Because not everybody's a reader. Not everybody's a thinker. Some people are laborers. Some people are scholars and artists. That's why we have all these different professions, And I don't know if the system was built to where like that pressure was put on me where, hey, you needed to be an attorney, but I don't like reading. I don't like picking up books. That's not who I am. So as an attorney, I was not going to be that person.
Right.
But as probably an architectural engineer, I still know how to read blueprints from high school. I still know how to draft things from high school. So if those skills or things were recognized me, and those gifts, I want to say that if those gifts was recognized in me as a child, then my education path would have been a lot different. Like your parents and everybody recognized something in you with NOCA. They knew NOCA was the school for you because of that inquisitiveness that you have in you. So speak a little bit on the education side. You went from elementary to primary high school, elementary high school. You taught in all different facets. So another reason I selected and thought about you is because of not just the curiosity, but the fact that you have had experience with young people as well as old people in the education realm. You've seen it in the lower grade system and now on a college level. So just in that vastness, because some of the main conversations, especially next month's topics, are going to be very interesting because education is the thing right now that we don't know how it's going to look. So I guess my question to you is, going back off of what I said, one of the programs that you're putting together was, or helping put it together for parents, if I'm saying this correct, was grouping parents together with the kids, like basically tell me what you're doing, sweetheart, with that, what you're consulting. Oh my God, it's too early in the morning. It was a homeschooling program?
Yes, so it is a distance learning cooperative. Okay, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to support parents as well as students with the virtual learning. And so we all know that school is not going to be in person this fall. And so when I learned that school wasn't going to be in person, or we were going to have students were going to have the option to not be in person, I decided to say, well, I know there's going to be some parents who either have to go to work or some parents who are going to have to stay at home, but are not going to be able to support their students finishing their virtual assignments at school. Last spring, when COVID hit and all of the parents were at home with their children, we saw an influx of parents outright saying, listen, I can't be no teacher. I can't do this because this is hard. And so because I knew that we had that issue, I decided to this year, because we have the same situation in education with COVID, to offer parents who had to work or parents who were not going to be able to support their kids at home, a space where their parents could bring the parents could bring their students to me. And so I decided to take 12 students between the grades of 8 and 12 to and house them twice a week at a building, at a space that I rented, and of course spread them out according to the CDC guidelines, but would be the adult that would be there to make sure that they actually did their work, make sure that they stayed organized, communicated with their teachers in order to make sure that their work was completed. And it just, in a sense, to alleviate the parent from having to figure that part out. And so it's not an all day thing where we just do school all day. There's a portion of where you do your work, your assignments for the teachers for whatever school it is that you go to. And then the second half of the day is when I wanted to do high school programming. And when I say high school programming, I mean, I wanted to begin to talk to students, to children, about what it is that they really want to do after high school. Mm-hmm. What are you interested in? So that I could begin to find speakers, to find professionals that match their interests, or even professionals that didn't match their interests, but something new that they had never been introduced to. So I have a friend of mine, my best friend. She is a doctor now. She's actually not a pharmacist, but that is the way that she learned about being a pharmacist, from career day at school. All children don't have career days at school anymore. All children are not exposed to all careers and all of what these careers actually entail. And so I just wanted to put that piece, introduce that to the children, not just introduce it, but to actually create a blueprint. Because I think that we say, let's go back to what you were saying. Your mom was suggesting that you be an engineer, or she's suggesting that you be an attorney. But if we really dig deep into what both of those career professions do, what it takes to actually be an attorney or an engineer, we have to say, well, do I really want to do that? We have to, it's not just like this glorified profession. It's actual work that you have to do. There's a process that you have to plan out so that you can get there. And I really think that is the piece that's missing with a lot of children. between exposure and then between realistic actual conversations around processes on how to get to where you want to go. That's why we have so many children who, so many people who fall into just having jobs
Mm-hmm.
instead of making it to the career or the profession that you really, really wanted to get to. Because it's not a joke, it's not a dream, it's not actual work or steps that don't have to be taken. No, I got to know, what does my ACT score need to be? What colleges are going to be best for me to enroll in? Do I need to stay in state? Do I need to go out of
Out of
state?
state.
How do I need to, what does my GPA need to look like in order for me to qualify for some money because I want to go out of town? And those are real actual steps that you don't just dream up and then overnight you say, oh, I'm a senior, now I'm apply to go here, here, here. I only have a 2.5 and I only have a 17 on ACT, but I got into the school. No. And so that is the part I think that is even more exciting about supporting students and helping them finish their work, but talking to them about, where do you want to go next? Like, everything can be, you can have all your hopes and all your dreams if you decide to create a plan.
Let
If
me
you
be clear.
decide to be, go ahead.
I really didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Because I could hear the passion in there.
Right.
Um,
I get it. I get going about that one.
but the question that I have is, career counselors, do they still have those in the school?
There are still, I don't want to say they're career counselors. They're just counselors. They
Counselor.
do, yeah, they just, yeah, but they do, they tell you what classes you're supposed to take when, but it's not as, it's not, the focus is not on us, on the career piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the academic piece of you getting out of school.
And you, by you going to NOCA, what was the other school you attended the other half of the day?
Edna Carr. I went to Edna Carr. So Edna Carr for my core classes, and then NOCA was considered all of my elective classes.
Classes, right. So I attended Warren Easton back in the 90s. And as I'm listening to you, one of the things that I've always questioned, especially after I've gotten out of high school, we had 3, maybe 4 counselors, and I want to just say 3 out of 1,200 students. Those counselors were divided alphabetically, A through what, G through, I have no idea how it was broken down, but so numerically, that dog can't hunt when it comes down to really identifying who your student is. In our class, it was probably 280 something people that graduated. So even in that realm, I only saw my counselor. I saw my counselor more the first year I got there, and that was because I was in trouble on the fence and probably was going to get kicked out because I was just from uptown, going to school in the mid city. But I got my life together. But the counselor was obsolete. Do you think now in today's school system, because I know a lot of people are speaking that this system of education is broken, it's old, it's outdated. Listening to the pieces that you just said, and I believe 2,000% in everything you said, another, as far as funding is concerned or support, do you think we need more counselors so these kids can have someone else to talk to in that career to help guide them? Because we had career days, but it wasn't as if I had a one-on-one with my counselor to say, hey, Mr. Lewis, what are you planning on doing in life? Oh, I see you got this. There was no guidance within in the school other than my teachers. It was teach, learn, go home. And when your parents don't have that structure, where else do you get it from? Where is the other solution? If not in high school, middle school, that
is the part that falls through the cracks because of the way that we do school. And not saying that it cannot be done. It just has to be, someone is going to have to decide that part of this is just as important. We don't, for whatever reason, have much of a programming portion that is that programming portion that's really focused on in schools, in high schools especially, and a lot of schools are, you know, your counselors get pulled into telling you what classes you're supposed to take. They're supposed to make sure that your units are actually followed, and they're done correctly so that you can get out of school on time. I don't know if you can remember a few years ago, just a few years ago, maybe two, like has to be, there was a huge bust on the counselors with John F. Kennedy School, John F. Kennedy High School, where we were figuring out that they were finding out at the last minute that those children weren't going to be able to graduate because they had not taken such classes and such units weren't adding up. That's the job of the counselor. The job of the counselor is also to provide those tools, programs, those options to you about figuring out where you want to go next. And that part is somehow, some way, has been kind of swept under the rug. And I think it has a lot to do with with the push and the emphasis on standardized testing. And so standardized testing is it's almost the one thing that we had begun to focus on, you know, like,
because it comes down to funding.
Because it comes down to funding.
Everything comes down to money. It's you know, for those who may not know a little bit about my background, I've had a lot of different careers, mostly sales. I've been in the car business. I've worked for AT&T, Cox Communication. I worked at Sears Automotive as an oil tire rotation specialist. I've worked at Hertz Rental Car. I was one of those. I worked at Hertz Rental Car at a time where I couldn't even leave the lot because I was under the age. So all I was doing was shuttling cars around on the airport lot itself, but never could drive them anywhere else. That was a very interesting experience. But in that experience, also, I worked with a lot of people that was older than I, who were retired from a number of different positions and who only worked that job to have something to do. So I love the experience because I always adapted to and listened to people older than I. That's the only way I can learn. But the reason I shared that little part of it is within all those careers, one of the major part that I heard from a lot of people was the fact that they just worked the job. They didn't love the job. They just worked the job. So they were miserable in their lives. And one of the pieces that I wanted to come back into this community to do, and I heard you talk about the program, and I'm gonna let you speak on that a little bit more after I say this little part. I wanted to develop a program myself at a time, this was back in 2011, 2010. I wanted to create a nonprofit that would allow me to partner with schools. And because at the time I was developing my marketing company, I wanted to create a program that would invest it in the community, with the kids being able to work an apprenticeship with certain laborers to help empower their community. And the ideology behind that was not everybody's going to be an attorney or a doctor or a cop, but you can be a welder and make a really good living. You can be a plumber, an electrician, a landscaper. So I wanted to create a program that would have gave these kids, male and female, the opportunity, if they were looking at that profession, to go work with a laborer in that apprenticeship in their community, and how I was going to have these laborers actually want to join this program because I have a marketing company. At the same time, if you elected to have or be a part of this, I was going to help promote your business for free. I was going to build your website. I was going to help you get your business together. So if you were just in business but not of business, then I was going to help you get your EIN number, open up a bank account, tell you who to do taxes with. So it would have been a win-win for both. And when I heard you say about your program, that's why I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more. Because even in the automotive industry, in sales, baby, I worked with individuals who were attorneys that weren't even practicing attorneys because they couldn't get a job. So they were a car salesman making commission. So it dawned upon me in this new era, and this was 2005 or so, 2005, 2006. I was in the car business from 2003 up until 2009, 2010. When I'm working with individuals that went to school to be an attorney and you can't get a job as an attorney, I know everybody else, and the rest of us are doomed if we don't have our ducks in a row. So on your program, I forgot my question because I went to talking too much. But we was talking about the counselors. So yeah, that was kind of my ideology of how to get these kids to get into programs where they just didn't fall through the cracks.
Well, so you have to, this program that I've created is something that I have kind of just dreamed up, honestly, Mike. And it comes from my experience in teaching high school. Like you said, I have taught at every different section. So that's kind of why I picked children from grades 8 to 12. And I'll even take 7th graders. But you really want to begin to think about what you are interested in. Like, what do I like? I know I got to go to school, but why am I going to school like this? What do I really like? And so that comes with me taking a lot of inventory on myself and saying, you know what? I am really interested in storytelling. I really love movies. I really like to read books. Why? Because those interests are directly tied to the purpose, your own purpose of what you should be doing inside of your life. And sometimes it's not always like professionally, you know what I mean? It may just be like a hobby or interest of yours, but you have to respect the fact that you're attracted to those things. And so that's what I want to do. While we are going to do school, and school education is so important to me, it is learning and being able to navigate spaces, or to be able to understand these concepts or these different contents, whether it be science, social studies, math, or English. All of these things are wrapped up into like a gumbo of what it is that you need. It's knowledge. It's important. But the other half of you going to school and learning all of these different entities is you learning about yourself. You saying, hey, like, I'm really good at math, or I really can draft up these blueprints, or I really think that this is something that comes naturally easy to me. So where do I want to go next? Because in life, I mean, I have to be able to take care of myself. What better way to be able to take care of myself than to be doing something that I also love? But if you don't take the time to actually figure out what that is, to follow what you're attracted to, then sometimes those conversations are left, they're done. They just, you wind up never really getting to the root of what it is that you really are interested in. And then you wind up just picking a job. And so with my program, that's my first question. My first question is, let's take a second and think about ourselves. Like, what do you like? And you will be surprised the amount of children or people that you'll meet that really can't answer that question. They have really not sat with themselves long enough to say, oh, I don't know. You know, for people who want you to give them options about what you like.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't have to give you this list of things. Tell me what it is that you're actually interested in. But that comes with sitting with yourself. And I think we do a lot of school. We go to school for 8 hours of the day for a lot of years of our lives, like up until we're 18. And some of us are never asked that question. So my program is about asking that question and then narrowing that down to kind of seeing, you know, well, where would this take me? You know, what would this be? And then, like I said, adding adults that can actually come in and explain and talk about what they do on a daily, a day-to-day day at their job, is exposure. It's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, this a real person? You really be doing that? Oh, yeah. These are the nuances of what it looks like to be a CPA. It's not, you're not just sitting in somebody's room counting money. No, you know what I mean? It has to be, it's no more, I don't want there to be any more illusions around professional aspirations. And that's what that's about.
You know, one of the funniest things, and you know, personally, I've had a few family members younger that I've attempted to work with me, um,
Hmm.
and I tried to save them by giving them an opportunity to work around adults, giving them an opportunity to see diversity within our community. And you know, one of the things that I've learned is if it's not also being reinforced at the household in some form or
Mm.
fashion, then it does fall upon deaf ears, and it's very unfortunate. There was the program last year that I partnered with Nord with, in a financial company who I will who will be part of these conversations as well, speaking on financing and things of that nature. But the program was geared towards kids in regards to free enterprise. And I'm using the word free enterprise, but it was financial literacy. Um, you know, in financial literacy is something that's not being taught in the school at all, at
Mm.
all.
Hmm.
Um, you know, one of the things, the perfect example that I used to have for I have for any and everybody was in my household when we had a house phone. People would call, and I knew about finances by telling people that I'm not here. That's you know, when creditors would call, that was the conversation that was being translated to me when it came to I'm calling your mom about a Sears bill, or I'm calling about your dad
Mm.
about this bill. And it was
Not
like,
a Sears bill. Not a Sears bill. Ah! We selling
come on now,
our age.
you know, Sears was the card in every black family back in the day. Um, but in education, I think we do. This is the perfect storm of
Hmm.
recreating, or not even,
Yes.
yeah, recreating the wheel based off what parents and students need curriculum. We need to, like
Hmm.
some have said that I have spoken with, tear up the social studies because it was written from a one-sided view. Um, we need to look at our history and tell the truth on all sides and make it universal. So these kids aren't dumbfounded by understanding that there have been a lot of, especially on the systemic side, that there are a lot of Black people that contributed to the excellence of this country, not just off of free labor, but through innovation and ingenuity. And their stories do need to be told more than just 1 month out of the year. They need to be consistently told. Um, so I think this is the perfect storm where education is now going to be looked at differently because there are a lot of people that have been successfully, even with the program you're speaking on, can grow to a homeschooling program, if not your own little independent charter school, where a lot of parents have been extremely successful with some highly intelligent kids who have been homeschooled
Yep.
because they have taught those kids exactly what it is to know they are smart as all outdoors. I met a couple of them. Their social awkwardness is another thing, but there's a balance there that could be had.
Hmm. 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 Yep. Definitely. I um I got a call just yesterday, actually, Mike, with a lady who is starting a school in starting her own school in Baton Rouge, and her school, her charter school, focuses on. It's also attached to Southern Baton Rouge, their law center, because her charter school focuses on children who want to study the legal system, who
Mm-hmm.
want to be attorneys, who want to be in some form of fashion connected to the law. And she was super duper excited about my program because her school is going to start at sixth grade and it's going to go to eighth grade. So each year they're going to put another grade at that school. But she was excited about the high school programming portion and essentially wanted me to flesh out the whole program, um, and then be able to offer it at her school on next year, because they're going to actually start next year. They were going to actually open this year, but due to COVID, they decided to push that back and then go ahead and just open up that school on next year. But there are smaller schools. You'll find that there are smaller entities of schools around that are really interested in somebody to come in and fill in those gaps and fill in those holes for the things that they're not getting, because we are looking at the future of our children and we're saying, well, wait a minute, hold on, like you don't know this part, we're missing this. And so I was happy to be able to see some people looking at COVID as we say, an opportunity to do education differently, because we've been doing it the same way for so long. But now we're looking at, the possibilities of, working from home. Oh, this actually may work. Oh, I really like this. That just the possibility that has come with the pivot for things that we were thinking that you could never have done. You're watching them be done, and not just be done, take weeks. I'm talking about overnight. You turning your kitchen table to a workspace, and you getting more work done at your house than you got on them people job any day. You know what I'm saying? We're watching these things happen. And so, this is an opportunity. I have never been more excited about the possibility of what this could be, of what education could look like. Oh, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, oh, we could finally actually like do this and do it better.
And they definitely, I think a lot of parents as well as educators, because you mentor teachers as well, and with this new way of looking at education across the board, because again, I don't have kids, but I do speak to a lot of different educators across the realm, across the board. I personally believe that Orleans Parish school system is a joke. This charter school system ain't nothing but a social experiment, all different type of ways, just to kind of see what works and what doesn't work, and they're doing it in real time, and people are blinded and they're being complacent. Where your kids can go to one school and they learn more math and science than another, learning social studies. So years down the road, when they go to see who actually was successful and who wasn't successful, they'll have statistical data based off of the actual children in attendance. That's what I believe is happening right now, and the kids aren't benefiting, because you're not teaching the child what the child, and you're not teaching a child the way the child needs to learn. You're teaching them the way you want them to learn, to see if that works out. I heard a good friend of mine that I grew up with, he's in education out in California, and he had mentioned to me years ago, Mike, what's the only career you can get paid and you never have to show the work that you put in? And I was dumbfounded. I was like, wait, huh? He was like, what is the only job that you can go on, get paid, but you never have to show the results of your work? I don't know.
Right.
Education. Education is the only job that you can go on and get paid and never have to show the results of what you did, because of the fact that is basically, now he has his PhD in education, and because this was in 2012, 2011, he's got his PhD, his master's, and he's trying to fix the system from within. And he gave me, girl, when I tell you, I was like, damn, I never thought about that like that at all. So this is actually the perfect time for parents to not only get to know who their child is, especially if you got to know who your kid is, and you have to have an earnest conversation with your child about not only who you were as a kid, but who they want to be as an adult. So we don't have that repetitive cycle of just a broken system of kids raising kids. At some point, we gotta stop the bleeding.
Yeah, Mike. It's another piece of the program that I'm building that's huge is the fact that I want to bring back the communication of the three parties, between teacher, between student, between parent. That needs to be I don't know what would I like to say? It needs to be reestablished. Maybe that's
Parents,
the right word. It
parents.
has
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it has to be to where that communication is no longer broken. It to where parents are able to depend upon teachers, and teachers are able to have clear, honest communication with parents, and for you to have this trifecta so that the student understands that, dang, when I go home is this way, dang, when I go to school is this way too, and these are the expectations around how I'm supposed to behave, how I'm supposed to move, how I'm supposed to walk day in and day out, whether I'm at home or whether I'm at school. And we're missing that piece. We are definitely missing that piece. And it goes even deeper. It goes to, and I talk to one of my friends about this all the time. It goes even deeper to us saying that people now, especially people in America, we just don't value education. You don't value it to the point to where you say, you're going to school, you're going to respect this teacher, you're going to do this work, you're not going to give this piss poor effort. And it's because education is no longer directly tied to dollars. That's
Mhm.
what it is. It's like, oh, if you go to school you might get a good job, or if you go to school you might not get a good job, so therefore it's just not respected like that. And then so many people have just got caught up in not respecting any process in order to get to somewhere. Like, we'll push our children to be football players and pop stars, which I find, it's no disrespect to those professions, but it's a 1 in a billion million. I mean, it's only, I'm telling you, me and my friend was just talking about this yesterday. It's one Jay-Z, ain't got that many. You know what I'm saying? It's everybody can't go to the NFL, which is, and I'm not saying, don't go there, but I'm also saying that that's not your only opportunity to be able to make the means
Yes.
that you need to make. And that's the other thing. It's like, it's the whole focus is the whole, when your sole focus is just to make money. I am pretty sure at this point in my life that you're going to be the person that makes the least, because you're always scheming and you're trying to skip the process. There is a pot of gold at the end of every situation, if you work at full capacity and excellence, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Well,
mean, unless some professions are not, like, being an educator, you ain't never gonna make $1 million, which you should. The disrespect that comes with being inside of that profession is real. But uh, you go get yourself an accounting degree, there's gonna be a job waiting for you when you finish. Like there's gonna be something at every professional process that you commit to. It will be there. But if you set on popping your fingers and and making $1 billion without a plan, you're fooling yourself.
you know,
That's not even real. you
I
know
think I think one of my speakers and presenters, you're gonna have a couple of you are gonna have phenomenal conversations with, especially on this part. I'm thinking back to last year, the beginning of the summertime, and I'm going back with this kids program that with the high schoolers. They focused on kids the age of 13 through 16, maybe 17, and I intentionally, and for all parents that's listening, grandparents, aunts and uncles, or anybody, again, I don't have no children. And
mm,
I mean, not having kids, I actually have a more unique perspective of parenting than you may think, due to the fact that I view and I observe differently. So I move differently. So I want y'all to hear this. So last year, these kids came into this space. It's summertime. The expectation of these kids was they were going to a summer camp, and
mm-hmm.
they thought that it was a Nord camp where they were going to. Now, some of the parents knew coming in that attended the orientation, and they knew what it was. Your child is here to learn about financial responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that knows me knows that I got 8 different personalities. I can dress up in a suit, or I can dress up like I'm back in the 80s with some Jabos, polos, and ballets on. I could be
Mm-hmm.
on a block. I could be in the yard. I have multiple different personalities. I intentionally, upon these kids' arrival, day one, dressed as if I was the janitor, but
Mm-hmm.
perception wise. And this goes back to what you were saying as far as children hopes and dreams are wanting to be something more than, or the parents not delegating to them what their aspirations could be. So I dressed like a janitor. Day two, I dressed like a janitor again. Now there was some incidents that I'll share on a later conversation with y'all. But long story short, by day three, Mr. Lewis had to show up, suit and tie. Oh, they were dumbfounded. And then Mr. Lewis had to have a come to Jesus meeting with these parents' kids. And in this come to Jesus meeting,
Mm-hmm.
they learned that I was the business owner. I wasn't just a dude around here with a broom and a dustpan walking behind your child, uh, helping them clean up. No, I am an individual that owns my own. And I went off on these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went off on these kids, the respect level increased tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
because for day one and day two, there was no good morning, no good afternoon, no good evening. Whatever happened to that, parents?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that? So I'm in a mind frame of a community raising everybody's child. And for the next 6 weeks, when Mr. Lewis spoke, they listened. They came to me one on one to ask about, what if I plan on doing this, if I plan on doing that, what are my steps? The conversation you just had, as far as
Mm-hmm.
guiding them on, well, you need to go talk to your counselor if you go to this school in order to know what college that may be directly impactful. They felt comfortable enough to me to see me as a person, and a person of means, and a man of understanding, to be
Mm-hmm.
approachable enough to say, how do I get out of the situation that I'm in? For those that
Mm-hmm.
wanted to play ball, oh, we had the real ball conversation. Let me tell you about the statistical odds, young man. You want to be a basketball player. Guess what? They only put 12 people on a roster with a
Yep,
three-man rotation out of that. And then
that's
they got
right.
the D League, which is the developmental league. So when you look at the odds of you actually making it as a professional player, you
Mm-hmm.
have to be
Mm-hmm.
above average. But beyond that, you have to be above approach. And above
Mm-hmm.
approach means that your attitude, your demeanor, your conversation is marketable, because you are now a brand. And for those listening, pay attention to what just happened with the young man from LSU. Domestic violence. They understand that it happened on more than one occasion. His butt is out of the league. He made it. But because he may not have had the, I don't know, whatever his situation was, he's not in the league right now. So parents
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to, oh, you skilled in football and basketball, but you need a plan B, because it's not just about the X's and O's that's on that spreadsheet in front of them in that playbook. It's about the X's and O's and the X, Y, Z's and the calculus behind that. That's why individuals like LeBron are going to be a billionaire. That's why individuals like Shaq are going to be a billionaire. That's why, God rest the dead, Kobe Bryant was a playmaker off the court. And it's the same with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people across football and baseball, but parents aren't having that conversation. They just looking
Mm-hmm.
for a paycheck through their child on a way out through reality. I'm sorry, I just went completely off, because this
Mm-hmm.
this part of it,
Listen.
this part of it is why verses to me is so important, because that come to
Mm-hmm.
Jesus meeting with that parent, it happens
Mm-hmm.
there, and then it can go outside that household.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. It's I'm excited that we're going to be able to have these conversations, Mike, because those are things that we definitely want to be able to say out in the open, and be able to reach people, and hopefully, even if we're able just to like touch a few or just to touch one, you have different people who decide that they want to and that they will do something different. So with our first conversation, we are talking about systemic racism. That is our topic at hand. But within the systemic racism, within the system that has been built in order for us not to thrive, I'd like to talk about ourselves being a part of how we don't thrive, and I think that is I think that part of that conversation does need to be had about just us being accountable, just us being right, just us being like honest about what's happening, what the real deal is, where we are. And I am very, very much, I say all that to say I'm very, very much looking forward to the conversation that we're about to have this upcoming Tuesday, as well as the ones that we're going to have every month. And just to like I said, touch some folks. So
the ones every month are going to be the ones that we'll be doing live on Facebook, Instagram, through all of the participants' social media platforms, especially in this pandemic time. That'll be the best way to get as many eyes on a prize as possible. But also, I'll be archiving videos and conversations on the YouTube channel, just so people can go back and listen and be able to hear. I had an interesting interview yesterday with one of the speakers. I have a few other interviews today with the other two speakers. And quite frankly, I've sat down with just the first one and I wrote down so many things that was so impactful. So the subject matter coming up is systemic racism, dealing with wills and trusts, estate planning, DBEs, which is disadvantaged Black enterprises, for those who don't know. But in regards to wills and trusts and estate planning, it starts at home. And these are the building blocks of, especially in this day where unfortunately, those impacted with underlying life conditions are being impacted more and are dying and hospitalized. A will or a living will is the most needed tool in your arsenal to make your family aware of what your wishes are. So there is no guesstimation. So we need to get over that fear of conversation of death in order to know what mama wishes are, what big mama wishes are, granddaddy wishes are. We need to have that level of articulation with one another so the egos are left the room. And like I said, first conversation, oh my God, eye-opening. I was like, I knew a lot of things and there was a lot of things that I didn't know. So they'll be talking on those issues on this coming Tuesday. So I am very, very, very excited. I'm more excited than I was when I first thought about it because I am now living and breathing it with you at this time. And I'm in the back end, I'll be having these conversations with these folks. And what it is just getting us ready to have more impactful conversations with everyone. And through this product and this tool, be able to share, like for yourself. If you're looking at more information about the program that Ms. Heard is putting, her website is Ask Ms. Heard. That's Ask, ASK, MISS.
That's it.
HEARD. I know people can hear the way that we articulate our words down here in New Orleans. And he said act, girl. No. So her information is also on the flyer that will be promoted within this audio video, as well as I'll probably share our one-on-one. Ironically enough, I'm gonna apologize to everybody. It may look like my eyes are distracted. That's because I'm multitasking. As I'm talking with you, Dre, I don't actually have your photo in front of me. I'm working on a lot of different flyers and stuff for the verses. So don't think that I'm ignoring her. I am very engaged. It's just that, again, Michael has 8 different personalities, y'all. Anything you want to leave the people? Anything?
I just like to say that I'm going to be really excited to meet everyone and excited to to have this conversation every month. So everyone should just get used to seeing me. I will be your hostess with the mostest. I am going to bring the questions. I am going to ask the things that need to be asked, and make sure that those answers are clarified so that we all understand, and so that we are all able to take something away from each and every conversation. I really love what I do. And if you have any questions or concerns for me, or if you have any questions, suggestions, we will take those, send those in to Michael, or send them into myself. Again, one more time, if you want to know even more about me, what I do on the education side, you can visit my website at axmissheard.com, and you'll be able to get a full scope, a full view of who I am and what it is that I do. But I am very happy to be able to host and to be your moderator for the conversations that we're about to have. So thank you so much for asking me, for offering this opportunity for me, Mike. I surely appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. So the way y'all submit those questions as of right now, go to the Algiers Auditorium community page. Pay attention to all the topics that we have. You can ask questions about topics of the month or future topics. Reason being, I will be communicating with a number of different professionals on all topics that are applicable throughout the course of the year on subject matters that I want to address. So it's not just a one-time question that you need to feel as though this question is specifically for this month. So again, that is the Algiers Auditorium community page. This August the 11th, the forum will be live, viewed through Facebook and Instagram through my pages at algiersauditorium.com, Algiers Auditorium Facebook and Instagram, my personal Instagram page, which is MHLEWISJR, and yours as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's Ask Miss Heard.
On IG.
On IG. So you all will have the ability of viewing this and submitting your questions. I do encourage you. I thank you for your time this morning. The many blessings to you and your family this weekend, and I will see you this Tuesday.